Good afternoon, everyone. It is time for another edition of the Sports Wrap with Michael Kravetz. I am your host, Michael Kravetz, and we're going to start off today's show, February 10th, with none other than the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Penguins have been one of the hot teams right now in the NHL. They had a 5-game winning streak going into last night's game yesterday afternoon's game against the New Jersey Devils. But since this is a weekly show, I'll get you caught up with all the other games that they had in the beginning of the week. Starting off with last Tuesday, the Penguins went to New York to face the Islanders after the Islanders pretty much beat the Penguins down to a bloody pulp, so to speak. Really just taking the Penguins down 4-1 at Consol a couple Thursdays ago. Penguins really didn't have any offense in that game, but they got revenge in this one. Neal got an early power play goal in the first period. The Islanders' power play went 0 for 7 in this game. The Penguins' power play 1 for 3. Other goals by Simone Dupré, who's really coming along, I think, solidly offensively as a defenseman, and another goal by Sutter, and then an empty net goal by Dupuis. It was a strong performance by Fleury. The Penguins won 4-2. It was a good division win because the Islanders, it's nice that the Penguins got the win because the Islanders, they were starting to get the attitude like, okay, we're not afraid of Malkin and Crosby. We're not afraid of these players. We can beat them. They showed that the past 2 years, but it was really good for the Penguins to go into New York and get the win. And then 2 days later, back at Consol Energy Center, the Penguins take on the Washington Capitals, who are just an enigma of what they used to be. They're just really bad this year, especially Alex Ovechkin. The first period, only one goal was scored, and it was by Mike Ribeiro for the Capitals. They were up 1-0. But in the second period, total domination by the Penguins. First, a Malkin power play goal, assisted by Crosby and Martin. Then a Pascal Dupuis goal, assisted by Crosby and Kunitz. A Neal power play goal at 16:33, assisted by Kunitz and Malkin. Then a Matt Cook goal, and then a Crosby power play goal. The Penguins scored 5 goals in that period. In the third period, there was just a midway goal in the period by Ovechkin. Made the score 5-2. That ended up being the final. The Penguins power play 3 for 4 in this game. Washington pulled their goalie, Michael Neuwirth, after the second goal. And then Braden Holtby, who was not that much better. Brady Holtby let up 3 goals. And Fleury, 23 of 25 saves. Another solid game for him. And up to this point, the Penguins' penalty kill and power play, it was just astounding. Top of the league, 5-game winning streak. They were definitely the top team in the Eastern Conference, possibly at the NHL at that point. And then yesterday's game, going to the New Jersey Devils, 1 o'clock game. This was a bad day it was a so-so day for the penalty kill because after an early goal by Brandon Sutter at 1:23 the first period, turns out that'd be the only goal that the Penguins would score the entire game. Matteau added a goal in the second for the Devils, and then Adam Henrique and Bobby Butler added 2 power play goals in the third period. The Devils won the game 3-1, and they leapfrogged the Penguins for first place in the division. And the Penguins' power play in yesterday's game, 1 for 6, not that good. But the Devils' power play, 20%. But it was 2 for 10. The Penguins committed 10 penalties, which is something you can't do. I mean, you have those games where you commit a lot of penalties, like against the Islanders last Tuesday. They committed 7 penalties. They killed all of them. That's going to happen from time to time. You're going to get lucky. You're going to kill all those penalties. But for the most part, you commit more than 5 penalties in a game, it's more than likely that the opposite team will convert on at least 2 of them, and that's what the Devils did. Fleury played a heck of a game, though. His 3rd straight game, you can't blame him. So what I take out of this week's games, the penalty kill is doing really well. I mean, they are not in the top 5 in penalty kill. They're down to number 12. But 82.7%, I mean, I think they struggled early on in the season, but I think right now it's really coming along. Brandon Sutter is really improving. He is turning into the next Jordan Stahl. I think he has the capability of becoming a better penalty killer than Stahl was. The power play, though, is still definitely top notch. Right now it's number 3 in the NHL, 27.7, only behind Tampa Bay and St. Louis. They're really starting to work a lot smoother. Both power play units are doing well ever since they moved. You have Paul Martin, who's sometimes playing the point, which is something I never thought I'd see, but he's really contributing on all facets. The only scary thing is, though, is that Letang, he's missed the past couple games. Hopefully he'll be back tonight. They didn't really just reveal his injury, but yeah, he had to sit out the past couple games. And the guys that are coming up big at this moment, obviously you have Neal, who is in the top 10 for goals scored right now in the NHL. He's currently number 8 with 7 goals. And then you have Chris Kunitz, who's 11th with 6 goals. I think he's coming up huge. Because when you have Neal, Crosby, Malkin, those are your big 3 players. If you can get some nice contribution from Kunitz, even Cook, Sutter, that's what they need. They need, and even Kennedy, they need balanced scoring where, they're not going to have the same guys, besides Crosby, Malkin, and Neal, who are providing assists and goals, mostly game to game. But you have other guys that'll step up, like Dupuis, that will chip in a goal every other game, such as Kunitz having 4 goals last Sunday against the Capitals. That was huge. And then in the game against the Capitals this Thursday, coming up big with an assist and a goal. I mean, you need those types of performances from those role players. And a lot of people were harboring right now on Sidney Crosby, saying, "Oh, he's the best player in the world. Why is it taking him this long, to get his footing? Oh, he was training during the lockout. He looked really fast. He looked ready to go, and it took him a while. But he's 4th right now in the league in points. Obviously, his goal scoring is down. He only has 5 goals, 12 assists. But I think that's going to pick up just because now they're going to be getting in more." They're going to be more into the routine of doing the games. I mean, we're a quarter of the way through the season, 12 games in, still got 36 more to go. And I think he's primed to make a push. I think he will end up leading in points in the NHL by the end of the year. And another thing that we see coming by the end of this first quarter of the season is that Marc-Andre Fleury is now the main goalie. There was some speculation because there were times where they would be rotating. Vaucoun would play, Fleury would play. There was a point where Vaucoun played 2 straight games because Vaucoun has done so well on the road. But with Fleury playing Tuesday against the Islanders, Thursday against the Capitals, and yesterday against the Devils, it's safe to say that he is definitely the primary goalie. There's no question about it, and he's playing pretty well. Right now he's 5-3, a 2.46 goals against average, about a 91 save percentage. Still looking for his first shutout, but I'm thinking he's going to get a couple soon. And Vaucoun, he's been stellar too. He's 3-1, 2.08 goals against average, and a 93 percent save percentage. So you got that stability, which I said at the beginning of the year about having a good goalie as a backup, and he's definitely going to be pushing Fleury to practice harder, and I think it's going to show once playoff time comes around, where if Fleury has bad spell, even though I don't think it's going to happen, Vokun will be able to step in there, and they won't miss a beat. So the first quarter of the season is through, 12 games. And as it stands, the Penguins are 8-4, 16 points in second place in the Atlantic Division. They would be the 4 seed right now if the playoffs were to begin. And they would be playing the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Devils currently have 17 points. They only have one regulation loss, and that was to the Penguins back in Newark. So, or my mistake, it was in Pittsburgh. And the way it's looking, I think it's going to be battle between the Penguins and the Devils. The Rangers are disappointing at 5-5. Philadelphia's 5-6-1. You have the Islanders at 4-6-1. I mean, it's going to be a tough division. But, I mean, I didn't think New Jersey was going to be there again this year, but it's looking like they are, unless they fall off here. And I just want to talk about a couple other teams that have caught my eye in the NHL. That is the Boston Bruins, who are 7-1-1. Tim Thomas, of course, he's not playing this season. He was actually traded, but he won't be playing at all in the NHL. But yeah, Boston 7-1-1. They haven't missed a beat with Tuukka Rask in net. They look like they could be one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference by the end of the year. And also the two other teams. The San Jose Sharks first in the Western Conference. 7-2-2, 16 points. Getting rid of Danny Heatley a couple years ago, and always having the struggles in the playoffs. I didn't know how they were going to respond in this shortened season, because they're always a good regular season team, but I didn't know how they were going to play, and they're proving to still be one of those top regular season teams, but when it comes playoff time, we'll see how they really are. And then the Ducks, who are in first place in that division, 8-2-1, 17 points. They have really caught my eye as well. And also they have Ben Lovejoy, who was traded by the Penguins to Anaheim for a 5th-round draft choice over the week, so I'll probably keep an eye on him, how he does with the Ducks. But the final team, only team left in the NHL to have not lost a game in regulation, Chicago Blackhawks, 9-0-2, 20 points already. You have Marian Hossa, Patrick Kane, Jonathan Toews. I think they're definitely going to be there. They could represent the Western Conference in the finals. We'll see what their final record is, how many points they have by the end of the year, but I definitely see them staying on top in the Central Division in the Western Conference. Those are the teams, though, that have really caught my eye. Now, though, we will be switching over to the Pitt Panthers. And what a week Pitt had. It started off with Monday night home after coming off that huge home win against Syracuse. Pitt hosted Seton Hall. And this game was a dogfight. Early on, Pitt had a good lead, 11-3. Seton Hall came storming back. Talib Zana got in some foul trouble early in the first half. Patterson was 2 of 2 from 3-point range. He was basically scoring mostly for Pitt. Basically, Pitt missed a lot of good shots. They had chances to pad their lead against Seton Hall, but they couldn't knock them down. And it was astounding because with about 3 minutes left in the first half, Seton Hall had only made 5 field goals. 5 shots, and they had the lead. It was 18-16. And the problem I saw in this game, Steven Adams was really hesitant on dunking the ball in the first half. He's trying to go for layups, and he's tall enough to just go up strong with it and dunk it. Thankfully, in this game, he ended up dunking it, but then he got called for a technical foul, which I thought was a bad call, but at least he's trying to get more. He needs to be more angry, more aggressive when he gets the ball down low. And by the end of the first half, it was tied at 24. Pitt was 9 of 28 shooting. That's just not going to cut it. I don't care who you're playing, because Seton Hall is not a good team, but if you're going to shoot that poorly, any team is going to be able to hang with you. And in the second half, Pitt was not able to stop Fuquan Edwin. He scored the majority of Seton Hall's points. Seton Hall had a lead, 28-27, early on in the second half, but then Pitt stormed back with an 8-0 run in a span of 2 minutes to go up 35-28 with about 13 minutes in the second half. From that point, Seton Hall got close. They could never regain the lead. Or my mistake, they had the lead. It was 39-38. Pitt got it back 40-39, and from then on, Pitt had the lead the rest of the way. They end up holding off Seton Hall 56-46. In the game, Steven Adams, career high, 15 rebounds, 8 points, and he was 4 of 5 from the free throw line. Woodall added 11, and Lamar Patterson added a double-double with 12 points and 10 rebounds. The best thing is the Pitt was able to win this game despite the bad shooting night, 35% from the line or from the field as a team. So that is definitely a good sign that you're able to win a game even though it's against a bad team when you shoot the ball poorly. And then yesterday, they go on the road, top 20 team, Cincinnati. And at this point, we all remember what happened in Pitt's first Big East game against Cincinnati. Had to lead at halftime. Poor rebounding in the second half. Poor free throw shooting. Led Cincinnati to beat Pitt by 9 at the Peterson Event Center. But in this game, Cincinnati had the lead after the half, 31-26. These two teams are pretty much mirrors of each other. Two top-notch defenses. Of course, Cincinnati's a better free throw shooting team. And they are an older team. In the first half, the Pitt just could not stop Sean Kilpatrick. He had 15 points for Cincinnati. They were guarding the perimeter pretty well. It's just they were getting out-rebounded in the first half, which was not a good sign because Pitt usually loses games when they get out-rebounded. So in the second half, early on, Pitt was going inside to Steven Adams, and it was really working. He was working well against Cincinnati's big men. Pitt was shooting better than Cincinnati, 43% to 40% at about the 15-minute mark in the second half. And they were down by 3, 35-32. And at this point, Cincinnati was out-rebounding Pitt 23-17. Later on, though, in the second half, huge three-pointer by Woodall around the 7-minute mark, tied the game at 45. And then from then on, Pitt had the lead the rest of the way. An 8-0 run for Pitt to go up 47-45. This game was pretty much a game of runs. And then a 15-3 run in the last 5 minutes for Pitt to go up 54-48. And Pitt hit their free throws in the end, and they end up beating Cincinnati on the road 62-52 for another huge win. Pitt only had 7 turnovers. Zana had 11 points. His first game in double figures since January 8th. Steven Adams only had 3 rebounds, or my mistake, only had 2 rebounds, but 13 points. He shot very well from the free throw line. Trey Woodall, though, he came up huge. He hit all of the Panthers' three-pointers. He was 4 for 6, 14 points. And they didn't get that much production from the bench, though. They shot 46% as a team, which is good, and then 67% from the free throw line. And oddly enough, in the wins, Pitt has shot 67% from the free throw line. In their losses, they have shot 54%. Steven Adams, though, this was a huge game for him. This is going to really build some momentum for him, give him some more confidence. He had 4 blocks in the game. And Pitt only had 7 turnovers, which was good because the turnovers were really high for them over the past few games. The important thing to note, though, in this game, Pitt normally loses when they get out-rebounded and their bench doesn't provide any scoring. In this game, Pitt's bench only provided 11 points. And they were out-rebounded by 3, 33-30. So it's nice it's really a good sign when your team can win when they don't have the advantage in what is normally their strengths. So at this point, I mean, these were two big wins. Pitt is definitely, I think Pitt's definitely the top defense right now in the Big East. I know you can say Georgetown, but I think they definitely are right now. I mean, if you look at it in the nation, out of all the Division I teams, Pitt ranks 7th in assists per game, 14th in field goal percentage at 48%. Rebounding, they're 132, still not near the top, but they are one of the better rebounding teams, offensive rebounding teams in the nation. The win now puts Pitt in 4th place in the Big East, behind Syracuse, Marquette, and Georgetown, 8-4. They're the first Big East team to get the 20 wins. So now Pitt has 6 games remaining. They don't play until next Saturday at Marquette, team who beat them at the Peterson Event Center. Then a big Monday battle, home against Notre Dame. At St. John's, home against South Florida. Home against Villanova, at DePaul. I think Pitt should definitely go 4-2 in those 6 games. They could go 6-0. So at this point, I think Pitt has definitely enough quality wins to get them in the tournament. Now it's just about building your resume, padding your seeding. And it's going to be an interesting final month to the season, to the regular season, and then time for the Big East tournament. And then Pitt will definitely move up now in the rankings. I definitely foresee them being in the top 20 once the polls come out tomorrow. So that'll be exciting. This will be Pitt's probably first top 20 ranking since early last year. And now switching to some Pitt football. As you all know, last Wednesday was National Signing Day for high school players. And Pitt's 2013 class was not too shabby at all. Rivals.com gave Pitt the 33rd best recruiting class nationally, 6th best in the ACC, and Scout.com gave Pitt the 22nd best in the nation and 3rd best in the ACC. Some of the top players they signed, offensive lineman Dorian Johnson from Bell Vernon, ranked number 31 in the Rivals top 50. Wide receiver Tyler Boyd from Clareton. And they got a scare from him because he visited Tennessee and West Virginia leading up to this signing, but he's staying with Pitt. Other players from Pennsylvania, you got wide receiver Zach Challingsworth from South Fayette, fullback Jamar Parrish from Gateway, and tight end Scott Orndorff from St. LaSalle. And they were able to get some good recruits from Paul Christ's his former coordinator job at Wisconsin. They got some players from Wisconsin, wide receiver Chester Wee and linebacker Zach Poker. And also they got someone from Hawaii, defensive tackle Jeremiah Tulare. And the big thing from this class is that the 5 linemen that were recruited and signed, they're an average of 6'5", 298 pounds. Dorian Johnson alone, 6'6", 280 pounds. That's a big lineman class. And not all of them are obviously going to start next year, but it's nice to know that Pitt's going to have some bigger linemen that might be able to push around some of the ACC teams. So I definitely see this recruiting class. I'd give it a B+, just because Paul Christ wasn't able to keep all the top Pennsylvania players here in Pitt. But it's a very, very bright future for this Pitt team and Paul Christ moving forward. And now I would like to talk about the Pittsburgh Pirates. There's been some news there recently. The Pirates recently signed, this week, Jonathan Sanchez to a minor league deal. You remember Sanchez probably most notably with the San Francisco Giants. He pitched with them in the World Series when they won their first one. 2010 was his best year. He's a southpaw, pitched 193 in 3rd innings, had a 3.07 ERA, 205 strikeouts, but walked a league-high 96 batters. And since that year, he was split time with the Royals and the Rockies. Never really standing out in those rotations. He's pretty much a lefty innings eater. He's 30 years old, 39 and 55 career record. Signing him, I was surprised, but signing him, though, if he were to make the team, he will provide depth. If you want to keep him as a long reliever, maybe in the bullpen, or he might be that number 5 guy, because 2 days ago, Friday, the Liriano deal finally came to fruition. He signed $1 million guaranteed. Now, depending on when Liriano's ready and when Charlie Morton's ready, here's how you have the rotation. You got A.J. Burnett, Wandy Rodriguez, James McDonald. Solid 3. You assume that Jeff Carsons would be the 4th guy, and the 5th spot would either be Sanchez, Liriano when healthy, Morton when healthy, or McPherson. I'm throwing Locke out of there because I don't think there's any way he deserves to be in that rotation. So with that, I think this is the best pitching situation that the Pirates have had with the starting rotation in a long time, probably the best in 2 decades. Because definitely, you don't know how A.J. Burnett's going to pitch. Who knows if he'll be able to have the same success that he did last year. You don't know what you're going to get with McDonald and with Rodriguez. But there's a high risk, low reward with Sanchez, Karstens, and Liriano. So when you see this Liriano deal, $1 million guaranteed, but he can earn an additional $3.75 million based on the number of days that he is not on the DL due to his right arm injury. And of course we all know how he hurt it in the bathroom. There's also a 2014 club option that could be for $8 million or $5 or $6 million, depending on the DL, how many days he's on there. I think he can be an effective pitcher. I don't know how this injury is going to affect him. It's his non-throwing arm. Hopefully he can come back because I always thought he was a good pitcher when he was with Minnesota. And in his rookie year, he had the no-hitter. He pitched really well. His strikeout pitcher. I just hope he can find that form once again because they're both left-handers, Sanchez and Liriano. And at some point, if they both in the rotation, you're going to have 3 left-handers, including Wandy, in the rotation. So I just think that would really throw a lot of teams off because not that many teams have more than 1 or 2 lefties in their rotation. And I also saw something funny that probably won't catch on because not a lot of Pirate fans know of Liriano or he's not a fan favorite yet. Saw something that said, "Don't pull a Liriano. Bath mats are your friend. Choose wisely." So I thought that was pretty funny. And finally, you know what? There's a couple more things now I want to get into. The Super Bowl. The Super Bowl was last Sunday. It was quite a game. It started off looking like it was going to be one of the worst blowouts in Super Bowl history. The Ravens were up 28-6 on the Niners, starting in the second half after Jacoby Jones returned a kickoff 108 yards. But there was a 34-minute power outage. And boy, did that change the momentum of the game. San Francisco came out, scored on their next 2 drives. Baltimore went 3 and out, and then they scored a field goal on their 3rd drive to make it 28-23. The Ravens then added a field goal. San Francisco got it right back. Kaepernick did it again, scored, made it 31-29. They went for 2, didn't get it. Joe Flacco was big in the Ravens' last drive. Huge 3rd down conversion. It was 3rd and inches. He throws a 13-yard pass to Anquan Bolden. Leads to a Justin Tucker field goal. 34-29. San Francisco, though, still has one last chance. They drive it all the way down to the field. They have 4 plays from inside the 5-yard line, and they cannot get it in the end zone. Baltimore then just takes a safety at the end. End of the game ends with a punt kickoff. Ted Ginn takes it about 20-25 yards. Baltimore wins Super Bowl 47, 34-31, and what turned out to be a thrilling game at the end. This game, though, was marked by many questionable calls by the referee. When it was 31-29 and the 49ers were going for 2-point conversion, there was some question as to whether Ed Reed had lined up offsides. I was not looking at it closely enough to see because he came in, he was about to sack Kaepernick, so Kaepernick had to throw it away. And then the final play for San Francisco when they were trying to win the game, 4th and goal, Kaepernick tried to throw a fade route to Michael Crabtree, and there were a lot of people that said that Kerry Williams was holding Crabtree, especially Jim Harbaugh. He was livid. I think the call could have went either way. You could have called pushing off maybe on both. Would have been offsetting though, but San Francisco would have still had another play. You just hate to see a Super Bowl end that way, but San Francisco fans are going to remember that for a long time. What I took out of this game, though, Colin Kaepernick had an early interception in the game to Ed Reed. Did not faze him. Of course, that power outage probably helped him. 16-28, over 300 yards passing, threw for a touchdown, ran for one. He came up pretty big in this game. I definitely think he'll get back to at least 2 more Super Bowls in the future. And what I like about him is that he said right after, next week I'm working in Atlanta. I'm working already towards next season. That's what you want to see in a young quarterback. And also with the Ravens, a team of destiny, I guess you could say. Got hot at the right time in the playoffs. They were struggling at the end of the year. Ray Lewis going out like Jerome Bettis did, winning a Super Bowl in his final game. Joe Flacco, Joe Cool as people like to call him, Super Bowl MVP. He really proved me wrong this postseason. 11 touchdowns, no interceptions. He had 3 touchdowns in the game. Never thought he would have been Super Bowl MVP. Never would have thought he could have won a Super Bowl. I remember always saying that when the Ravens drafted him. But he was the best quarterback this year. Do I think they're going to make it back to another Super Bowl again? That's a possibility now. I'm not going to count that out. But do I definitely think Joe Flacco is one of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL? No way. You could say, I have Pittsburgh bias, but no. I still think Ben is a better quarterback. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, all those guys are still better than Flacco. But I congratulate them. Definitely they'll be getting everyone's best shot next year. The Steelers will definitely be gunning for them in the AFC North. And also just want to mention the Steelers lost their wide receivers coach, Scotty Montgomery. He went to take a position at the Duke University football coaching staff, his alma mater. So the Steelers will now be trying to search for a wide receivers coach. I said, hey, maybe Hines Ward, but I don't think Ward is the coaching type. And he's enjoying his gig right now with NBC Sports. And I also just wanted to get into something real quick. Missed this after talking about Pitt. In the NCAA right now, so many number 1 teams are going down, and so many upsets are happening. I don't even know if you want to call them upsets. A number 1 team has now gone down the past 5 weeks. Indiana twice. Well, Indiana went down twice already this year. Thursday they lose at Illinois on a last-second layup. Duke went down twice to NC State, and then a 27-point thrashing by Miami. Louisville went down earlier this month. And also Michigan losing to Indiana. But other upsets, though, Kansas has lost 3 in a row. They were number 5. They lost home against Oklahoma State, at TCU, at Oklahoma. Michigan yesterday loses to Wisconsin on the road. A half-court shot at the buzzer. Wisconsin wins in overtime. Just so many upsets.